But now we've got a tale of hope. So I'm going to introduce you to Matt. Now, Matt is 59, and he has had type 2 diabetes for maybe 17, 18 years. And has been struggling. His blood sugars were out of control. And when we met him, his HbA1c was 95. He would finger prick, his blood glucose would typically be at 22, 23 millimoles, right? Awful. So when we met him initially, we got him onto the ReadyCare program. So he went on online program. And after 4 months, his HbA1c came down to 78. We were pleased. He wasn't, because he wanted to get it into non-diabetic levels. He said, you guys, you're not helping. So I said, well, hold on, Matt. I said, when you were doing finger pricks, it was in the mid-20s. Now when you're doing finger pricks, it's in the teens. So it's an improvement. I agree, it's not the best. So he said he wanted to understand what was going on, and he came over and we did a curve.
Mm-hmm.
We have here is after 4 months of low carb with a HbA1c now of 70. And his fasting glucose when he came in was 16. His fasting insulin was about 7 or 8. I think that is when we gave him the sugar. And his glucose rose to just under 30, okay, and just stayed there for hours. But his insulin response was just pathetic, all right? The highest it went to was 16. And you can see the insulin-resistant person went up to 180. So I'd have expected a huge insulin response for this. So Matt recounted afterwards that I called him a tired old donkey climbing a mountain. But I was trying to describe his pancreas. You know, it had fallen over, it was exhausted after many years of overworking, it just couldn't do it. So based on this, he essentially had two options. You're not producing enough insulin, get some insulin injections. That was a red line, because whatever happened, he didn't want to put on weight. And he said, there must be some. I asked if he could try some fasting and going to 1 meal. He thought about it and he said he'd give it a try. So he said the first 3 days he found difficult. By the end of the week, he said it was really easy. My body had adjusted. And in 2 weeks, he said, my finger pricks now in single figures. Quite extraordinary. And then 8 months later, he contacted me because he regularly wears CGMs, continuous glucose monitors. And he said, an interesting thing is beginning to happen. He said, when I eat something I shouldn't, the sugars go up. Normally they would stay up for 3 or 4 hours. But now he said they're rapidly coming down again. Mm-hmm. So I said, that's interesting. So something's changing. Why don't we have another look? So he came in and we repeated his curve. And the gold line this time only goes up to 20, which is the glucose. Previously it went up to 30. This time he's getting a really big insulin response. So look at it, it's nearly hitting 90. Previously he was only going to 60. Here's an example of pancreatic recovery, producing more insulin after a pancreatic failure event. It's really extraordinary. So we've shared this, Ben Bickman and Tim Noakes, and they're completely blown away by this. And so I think for everyone on this call, this is really a message of hope. And so no matter where you are in your journey, you can turn things around. And there was always hope. Persisting. And just for dramatic effect, these are the two curves overlaid. So you can see the dense line at the top is the recovered pancreas. And it's actually the green dotted line underneath is the previous insulin response to the same.
So a quick question, if you don't mind, Dr. Collins. So is he now producing more insulin according to these graphs he is, or is he more responsive, or his body is more responsive to the insulin which the pancreas is producing? But it looks like he is producing more insulin. So how can that be better health-wise?
So he was an end-stage type 2.
Right.
Okay, so his pancreas had been crushed with visceral fat. He previously would have been insulin resistant. So it's like asking a 100-meter sprinter to, run a half a mile with a big millstone wrapped around his neck. Okay, and do that every day for 5 years. You will destroy anyone by taking the millstone off his neck. Right, suddenly you can perform amazingly well. But so I think what's happening here is, one is you've given the pancreas a rest, given the cells a chance to recover. Once he went to fasting and 1 meal a day, he started losing some weight again. So he was reducing his visceral fat and probably reducing some of the fat that was packed in the pancreas. The beta cells are no longer getting squashed and squeezed, and they're able to, if you like, breathe again. But I think what would be really fascinating again, and he's agreed to come back in about 8 months and stay on the fasting and 1 meal a day. And I think we may well get a normal curve. We may get a normal glucose response then. We may say, Matt, you are no longer type 2 diabetic.
That's amazing. That is just so full of hope, this message.
Hope. There's always hope. We can always make things better with understanding, with humility, and with vulnerability. That's how we will progress.